Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I've got a yoga mat. If you don't happen to have one right now, fear not. Find a place in your home that's got carpeting. Maybe you've got a rug, a solid rug, not one that's going to slip out from underneath you. I want you to have some padding and I want you to have some traction. So nothing too slick, nothing too hard. I've got 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute would be 2 thick books. Should I need it or want it, I've got the throw blanket from my couch here. Maybe you've got that, or a bath towel, a beach towel, something that you can fold up or put underneath your knees for some padding. It's also great to have something like a pillow from your couch or even from your bed to sit on sometimes. So make this stuff comfortable. There's a little challenge to it, but we want there to be ease as well. Once you've got that, let's start standing facing the short edge of our mat. Oh, hi, Tippy. And if you don't have a mat, you'll just use your imagination. Your feet are hip distance apart. We'll make a couple of little circles, or actually big circles, away from each other in front of us, so that coordinates what's happening at the shoulder joint for us. And when you have your arms alongside, you let your palms face out. Allow for an uplift of your heart. Your chin is parallel to the ground. A bit of bend in our knees so we don't feel like we're standing locked out in our legs. And it's here that we stop so that we can start. We start to turn the arrows of attention inward instead of distractedly outward. We tune out of our inbox and we tune in to our intuition, to our inhales and exhales. We're carving out a little bit of space for ourselves, our self-care. Let's add a tiny bit of movement. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. And then just exhale, float your arms along your sides, palms facing out. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And then we exhale and float our arms along our sides. Adding more. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Let's just take our hands on our thighs for the first bit here. Press your hands into your thighs, lengthen through your spine. And then we'll exhale and try to keep that length as we adventure our hands down towards our shins, maybe, or maybe not. Towards our ankles, maybe, but maybe not. Now we'll slide our hands up to inhale, and it might be all the way back to our thighs because that's pretty great traction. And we'll come all the way back up, arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, and stand into our mountain. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands back up, inhale. Slide your hands back down, exhale. Then rise, reach, inhale, arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky. We stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. We'll add more. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale. This time, when we exhale, we'll bend our knees. Place our hands flat first. Push the ground away while we walk back and fashion our first down dog. Step your feet wide as your mat. Lift your hips as high to the sky as you can and continue to oomph into your arms. Our knees are bent, we're on the balls of our feet, and we've got a hook in our tailbone, taking those hips high. Walk forward, feet come to your hands and they're hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down as we exhale. And then we rise, reach, inhale, thumbs to the sky, a V, and we stand in our mountain, palms facing out. Adding even more. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees deeply, palms go flat. Oomph into your arms, push the ground away as you walk back with a hook in your tailbone to down dog. My feet are now hip distance, but I still have a bend to my knees and I'm on the balls of my feet. You can keep your legs wider if you want. Let's shift on an inhale, shoulders aim right over our wrists and we're pushing the ground away. Then lift your hips up and back. The hook in your tailbone takes you to down dog. Twice more like this, we come to plank, shoulders over wrists with an oomph in our arms, and then we make our way back to down dog. This time, shoulders over wrists, keep oomphing into your arms. You could even bring your knees down if you want to. 3 moments of sturdy strength in a plank. Find the hook in your tailbone to take you back to down dog, and once you do, walk your feet forward to your hands. We are hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale. And then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, V, and we pause with our arms along our sides and palms facing out. Inhale, V. Exhale, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles, and then we inhale, glide our hands up and inhale, lift our hearts. Bend your knees, palms flat, step back, down dog. There's a hook in our tailbone. Shift, shoulders over wrists in your plank, and this time all of us bring our knees down. Not quite as close to our hands as hands and knees, so a modified plank. What I don't want is a collapse in between your shoulders. So as you push the ground away, feel as though there's no concave between your shoulder blades, and keep that oomph in your arms as we shift a bit forward and come all the way down onto our bellies. Once you're on your belly, uncurl your toes and press the tops of your feet into your mat. Bring your forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat. Traction your elbows towards you and let your chest glide through the gateway of your arms. There's enough oomph in our legs that our kneecaps are lifting. We'll lower down, take our hands next to our floating ribs, curl our toes under, and come through all fours in one chunk. Then the hook in our tailbone takes us back to down dog. Push the ground away. Walk your feet to your hands. We arrive at the front edge, hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down, exhale, folding. And then we inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, and we stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees, palms go flat, step to down dog. Shift it to plank position, bring your knees down, belly firm all the way down onto our bellies. Uncurl your toes. You can keep your hands where they are for cobra, or bring your forearms down for sphinx like we all did before. Then we lower down, curl your toes under in one chunk. It's all fours. And then the hook in our tailbone takes us to downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to your feet. And once you arrive at the back edge of your mat, feet parallel, bend your knees quite deeply. Take a hold of your elbows. Bring your elbows forward and drift your weight towards the balls of your feet for a forward fold. You're also welcome to keep your hands on the ground or bring your 2 blocks into the mix to support this forward fold. I want there to be the feeling of shifting your weight a little bit towards the balls of your feet and thinking of aiming your hips over your heels as opposed to rounding and having your hips back further in space than your heels. Look at which of your forearms is on top, swap that out so the other one gets a chance, and then we pause here in a forward fold. Bring your hands on your hips, firm your belly and rebend your knees a bit. All the way upright we come. We're still back here, located at the back edge of our mat. We've got our hands on our hips, and know that if you prefer it, you can go to the wall and bring your left hand onto the wall for a little bit of assistance, or even use something like the arm of your couch if it's high enough. Standing on our left leg, take your right leg out in front of you and from your hip joint. So I would like you to have your right hand on your hip to feel it. Turn your right leg out, and then turn your right leg so that the toes face the sky. Let's articulate at this hip one more, or twice more. Rotate from your hip, so you'll see it in your foot turned out. We're dancing a jig, and then turn your right leg towards the sky. This time when we turn it out to dance our jig, let's place the ball of our right foot to the inside of our left foot. And it can stay there, or you can place your right foot on the shin, or right foot in the, maybe I should go to the wall, the inseam of your left leg. So left hand can be on the wall, probably a good idea for me too. Then we will grow our right branch, possibly our left branch up to the sky. We want to keep hugging that left hip to a midline, and then it's just balancing fun. It's very windy here today, and apparently it's not just windy in the trees outside, it is windy in the tree that I am performing inside. The last couple of moments here. Bring your hands on your hips or maybe left hand on your wall. Turn your right knee forward and step down. We'll make sure that we make our way back to this parallel at the back edge of our mat. So if you were at the wall, come on back. Hands on our hips, lift your heart, inhale. Hinge and fold as we exhale. Then walk yourself out into downward facing dog. Remember, we push the ground away. Lift your right leg back behind you. And then step that right foot forward. It's very likely that you will need to help that along. No worries. Let's get our 2 blocks in the mix and allow them to be nearby so that we've got some leverage here to set up a lunge. Imagine that you are doing tree pose in this right hip. We're setting things up slowly. So we will turn our back foot flat and inch this right foot over to the left a little bit. Take your block on the outside of that right foot and then your left hand on your hip. When we fashion this with our hand here, you can actually move your right thigh towards that right arm as opposed to letting that right knee cave in. We'll rotate our bottom ribs to the sky, and with our hand on our hip, we've got an idea of where we are in space. Right ribs, bottom ribs are lengthening. And then you can take your left arm up to the sky if you'd like to. You could even weave that left arm behind you. There's lots of different variations of this pose, which is called side angle. But what I'd like for us to focus on is keeping that action of tree pose and dancing a jig happening in our right hip. Firm through your belly. Come upright in Warrior 2 with your arms out to the side, and we're open towards that left side of our mat now. We'll stay here for 3 moments, thumbs to the sky, arms wide, breath steady. And then let's go out the way we came in. So right hand on our block, and then we'll spin on our left toes, left hand on our block. Move your blocks out of the way, palms flat, down dog, push the ground away, right away. Feel free to stay here. You could even bring your knees down and make this a child's pose, or come with me into plank, shoulders over wrists. Bring your knees to your mat with your belly firm. Come all the way down onto the ground. Uncurl your toes for cobra or sphinx pose. Lower down, curl your toes under. It's one chunk that brings us to all fours, and the hook in our tailbone takes us to down dog. Once we're here in down dog, lift your left leg behind you. Step that left foot forward. Feel free to help it along if that's useful. Trot your 2 blocks so that we've got something to really leverage some alignment. And we pause here. 3 moments. We're kind of doing things backwards, just letting you know. We will do tree pose on the second side, but we're doing like a little bit of a different movement here. Turn your back foot flat. We've got our left hand on our block, and we will take our right hand on our hip and hug our left hip underneath us. Pause a moment or 2 here. Float optionally your right arm up to the sky. It's inverted. That's the word I was looking for. We're doing an inverted version of this sequence. Now, you might even like this top arm behind your back. So great, go for that if that's your variation. And then float right arm up to the sky. If you took that arm behind your back, firm through your belly. Upright we go into Warrior 2. Now we're open to the right side of our mat. We've got a nice deep bend in our front knee. And we'll pause. We go out the way we came in. So we take our left hand down on our block. We'll spin on our back toes and take our right hand onto our block. Move your blocks off the sides of your mat, step to down dog, and this time walk back, hands come back towards our feet, and we will hang once again, holding our elbows in that forward fold, remember? Check it out, see which one of your forearms is in front, swap it out so the other one gets a chance. Bring your hands to your hips, a little bend in your knees, we come up to standing. And now make your way to the wall if you'd like to. Right hand would be the one on the wall. We'll stand on our right leg and bring our left leg out in front of us. And it's dancing a jig. We turn from the hip and then our left toes go to the sky. Let's do that 2 more times. So turning from our hip and left leg up to the sky. And then turn here and plant left ball of the foot, maybe left foot into the calf of your right leg, maybe left foot into the inseam of your right leg. And then you can grow your left branches, you can grow your right branches. It's still windy, both in the trees outside and this tree that I've grown inside. Let's stay for 3 moments. And then we'll bring our hands on our hips. Maybe you keep one hand on a wall. Left knee forward, we step down. And here we are once again in this hip distance stance. So join us once again back at the back edge of your mat. Lift your heart, inhale. Hinge as we exhale. We walk it out to down dog. And we'll lift our right leg once again back behind us. And step that right foot forward. This time when you bring yourself into your lunge, and you can help that along, we now turn our back foot flat. I'm going to keep my block tall. The other option is to add even more space with a second block. Straighten that right leg, and instead of rounding here, I want you to feel like there's a hinge at your hip. So that's where this extra space might come in handy. We've got our left hand on our hip, and then left arm up. We want to have a front leg that's not locked into straightness, but is on its way to being straight. You can keep your left hand on your hip the whole time. Let's soak for a few moments here. Option to remain where you are. You're not going to be able to take this whole contraption with you. So only if it makes sense in your body and in your practice might you take your left hand onto your hip, bend your right knee, and float this triangle on one leg. So I'm just taking the one block with me. It might be that you keep your left hand on your hip. It's possible that you float your left arm up to the sky here. And then we'll return our hand to our hip. Carefully step back. I'm going to strategically place my block into that taller position. I kind of like it that way. Now, begin to bend your right knee, and we'll do that spinning on our back toes, locating our 2 blocks off the sides of our mat. Palms go flat. We step to down dog, and there's the option to stay here or to come to plank. Bring your knees to your mat, lower all the way down. Uncurl your toes for either cobra or sphinx pose. Then lower down, curl your toes under. We come through all 4s, and then the hook in our tailbone takes us to down dog. Last side of our standing stuff, left leg lifts. We'll step it forward and help it along if we need it. We have our 2 blocks here in our lunge shape, but then ultimately we straighten our front leg, spin our back toes flat, and I'm going to take that extra step for spaciousness with my blocks on this side too. Right hand on your hip. Remember, a hinge at this left hip, not a rounding of our spine, and then right arm up to the sky, and we're in our triangle pose. The front leg is straight, but not in a locked out sensibility, and we spin our inner upper arms away from each other, making some space here. It's possible that you stay here. It's also possible that you look down, move one of your blocks with your right hand on your hip, and float this triangle on just one side, or one leg, pardon me. You might even free that right arm up to the sky for a moment. And then we want to return that right hand on our hip. Carefully, strategically step back into our triangle. And from our triangle, we bend our front knee like that little side angle pose that we did, but we use this as our exit strategy. Our two blocks, we spin on our back toes, then the blocks go off to the side, palms flat, and we step to our downward facing dog. This time, lift your right leg back behind you and step that right foot forward, lower your back knee. I'm almost going to insist that you have something that you're sitting on here. Some of you might be quite pliable and you don't need it, but most of us, honestly, will need to sit side saddle on our block or a cushion or a combination of both. It's fine with me if this leans over to the side because I don't want your right knee to hurt you. But what we will do is curl our left toes under and start to sneak that left leg back towards straight. There is no there's no bend too deep in this front knee. It used to be that people said that you had to have your shin parallel to the front edge of your mat, and that's not really what happens in most of our bodies. What I would like for you to try to find is a stretch here in your glutes on the right side, and then a stretch here on the front of your left leg. This right leg is doing something along the lines of tree pose and side angle and triangle. How about that? We'll stay and soak for a few moments in single pigeon, this is called. You might even take one of your blocks out in front of you and elevate this. It's always nice to have, like we discovered in that triangle, a little bit more space to play with. Now we'll lean a lot over to the right and bend our left knee, and then dismount our blocks, come to all fours, find the hook in our tailbone, oomph into our arms into a down dog, a very short-lived down dog. Lift your left leg, step that left foot forward and lower your back knee. Take your block to sit side saddle on the left side. Be in no rush to set this up. Make sure that everything feels copacetic here in your left knee, and then start to curl those back toes under and just sneak back to a place where you feel a lovely stretch in the front of your right thigh and in your left hip, and then you might incorporate a block out in front of you or something that gives you a little bit of height. We're here for a silent minute, so make yourself relatively comfortable. There's a little feedback of sensation. 1 minute starting now. This side we will dismount differently. So I'd like you to, not entirely. You're going to lean to your left, so that part's the same. And you'll bend your right knee. And then it could be that you decide that you want to incorporate sitting on your blocks in some way here, but I'm coming off mine just to show you what's next. There are a couple of ways in which this can be fashioned. We will swing, so maybe with this left knee bent, you swing your right leg around and you step it over, and this is your twist. If this doesn't feel good on this left knee, you could sit on your block or you could straighten your left leg out in front of you. But it's a seated twist. If it works to have the left knee bent underneath you, that's fine. And then you can hug your right knee or take your left elbow outside of your right thigh. Unravel and extend both legs in front of you for a little shake for a second. If you need to keep your right leg straight, just step your left leg over. If it worked to have your right leg bent, then you'll bend your right leg. Make sure both knees are feeling okay and that you can get a little bit of length in your spine. And then it could be that you hug that left knee, or you take your right elbow on the outside of that left thigh. And now we twist in this direction for a moment. Let's unravel once again. Give our legs a bit of a waggle out in front of us. And take our 2 blocks with your legs maybe kind of straight. Maybe there's a bend in your knees because that can be handy. You can have a little space, but we'll hinge and wander forward into a straightish legged forward fold. I'm using my blocks so that I can keep the length in my spine. You might choose to do the same. A few moments here. Now we'll slowly inhale, come up, move our props out of the way, and we'll lie down on our backs. Let's start with our knees bent. Shimmy your shoulder blades underneath. It might be that this feels best. Lift your hips just an inch. Let that provide you with a little bit more space in your low back. And you can stay here or straighten one leg at a time and let your feet flop open. And if you're comfortable with it, close your eyes, maybe even cover your eyes, cover your body. A soft gaze works too, but this is our rest and digest time. Stay here in your Shavasana final meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready, bend your knees and place your feet on the ground, and then just roll carefully to either side. Let your head be the very last thing to come up. And we'll come to a seated cross-legged position. Maybe you're seated on a block or a book or any seat that's comfortable for you. Place your hands on your heart and pause. A moment of gratitude. Grateful that we have the health to do this practice, the opportunity to join each other in this practice. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for taking this time with me today. I look forward to us doing it again together soon.